Good morning. How are you? You don't normally see me on a Thursday morning, do you? But we are in the lead up to my 5-day challenge, and in the run up to a launch, everything increases. All my social media content and my lives all increase just to make sure that I reach as many people as possible with the fantastic offers and the fantastic things that we've got going on happening. But today, I wanted to talk to you about imposter syndrome and how I spoke about self-confidence on Tuesday night on my live. And I'm kind of running that theme through this week. So imposter syndrome for me is quite a big part of that. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. And obviously about all that's coming up in the business. So I am going live on 5 platforms. So for those of you that have not met me before, seen me before, I am Mandy Nicholson, and I am the Creative Genius Consultant, and I'm an artist, and I'm an author. I am a creative retreat owner here in sunny Scotland today, and I help creative women to launch, grow, and scale their businesses and make more money. As I said, we're in the run up to a 5-day challenge, a summit, and I've got loads of stuff happening this month. So I wanted to talk today about one of the most common things that I see and experience, not just in creative women, but in business women in general. And it's a contentious subject in many ways, because I know that a lot of the big names in coaching have said openly and publicly that they don't actually think imposter syndrome exists. That's come from a couple of big names. And wouldn't it be wonderful that you were so confident in everything that you do that you didn't experience imposter syndrome? That must be a nice place to be, and good on you, kudos to you, but don't please throw mud at the people that genuinely struggle with imposter syndrome day to day. Now, it does affect a lot of high performing people, but it also affects like everybody. Joe Public, me, you, the person next to you can experience imposter syndrome. And what it is this persistent inability to believe that your success, no matter how small that success is deserved, or that it's been legitimately achieved as a result of the things that you do, your own efforts, your own skills, the products that you sell. So that's what imposter syndrome is. And it can be a condition, it leaves you feeling anxious and not experiencing the success internally. So you may have a success externally. You might have had a good launch, or you've sold a load of products, or you're an artist and you've sold a painting. Well done, you. But internally, despite having had whatever these successes are, you feel like a fraud or a phony, or that it was a fluke, that it happened by accident and it's not going to happen again. Comment below if you felt like that. Put a note in the comments if you've actually felt like that. That's what imposter syndrome is. And it's so difficult to manage because it creeps up on us. Some of the biggest names in, some of the most successful people in the world suffer with imposter syndrome. I know Beyonce does. That she suffers every time that she's due to go out on stage. She suffers with imposter syndrome. Who am I to be this successful, to be this wealthy, to be this rich? But like I said, it's not just the rich and powerful and the successful that suffer from this. It can happen with the smallest of things. So let me give you a couple of examples. Have you ever been to, let's say, a workshop or an event? You've invested in yourself, you've been to a workshop or an event, an in-person event. You've had an amazing day. You come out feeling really, really high vibe, like you can take on the world. Nothing, there's no glass ceiling. It's had such an impact on you. And you go home, and by the time you get home or by the next day, you're like, yeah, but this is me, and who am I to think that I can do that? Who am I to think that I deserve that? Who am I? This is where imposter syndrome is so devastating to your business, because it holds you back. All that power that you were feeling and all that motivation that you were feeling in the event, or after, if you did my 5-day challenge and got to the end, you'd be feeling like, right, I can go and do my business now. Loads of women do that. And then the reality of social media is, monotony and all the things that you've got to do, and that you don't make a sale for a few weeks, or nobody's interested in your new product. And imposter syndrome, it's like it comes and stomps on all that positivity and leaves you feeling like you are a fraud. That it's that question, isn't it? Who am I? Who am I to think that I deserve this? Who am I to think I'm a great artist? Who am I to think XYZ? So I've experienced it myself. I don't anymore, because I've done a lot of work on imposter syndrome and limiting beliefs and all these other and self-confidence. They're all interconnected. They're all very different. They're all very, very different issues. They show up in different ways and in different places, but they're all interconnected, because if you're not confident, imposter syndrome is going to show up a lot. If you're not confident, you're going to have limiting beliefs as to what you can and can't achieve. So they all sit on the same bench for me. There's imposter syndrome, and waving at you going, hey, you're not good enough. And then your confidence goes down a notch or two, another notch or two, and then the limiting beliefs come in, don't they, of, right, okay, I've never been good at this, so why do I think I can do it now? That's what happens. It's like there's a trigger, there's a thought, and then there's the behavior that follows it. And the behavior is to pull back. So how do you get past imposter syndrome and all of these things when they show up? Well, step one really is to acknowledge that it's there. That's what I do. And I do sort of talk about this a lot. And I talk about how I deal with mine. So I've got I've got a name for mine, and it's Gordon. Yeah. So when Gordon shows up, imposter syndrome, sitting on my shoulder going, you're not good enough. Yeah, you're not good enough for this. I go, thank you. Thanks for showing up. I'm acknowledging you there, but I don't need you because I've got this and I'm going to do it anyway. So goodbye. Disappears. Poof. That sounds really simplistic, doesn't it? It really does sound simplistic, but it does work. Hi, Rachel. I see you there. So, what type of people experience from, imposter syndrome? So how many of you out there are perfectionists? Well, does everything have to be perfect? And unless it's absolutely perfect, you think you could have done better. It's really funny, because I pride myself on the standards in the art bank, in my retreats and B&B business. And we've just got a review in from January, and we got 7.5 for everything. So everything was 3/4 good, or 3/4 good and 1/4 bad. And Ange, my sister, my cleaner, my cook, was really upset about it. And I've just said to her, look at all the 10 out of 10s we've got. Focus on them. Leave that one. Leave it. Let me go and have a look at it, and don't get upset. She said, but I am really upset. We pride ourselves. I said, I know we do. And I had a look at the review, and it was literally someone who'd booked, it was somebody who had a business and had booked a couple of his contractors in here. So he'd obviously had a prompt from booking.com. And he'd just gone, 7.5 for everything. He hadn't thought about it. He hadn't thought about the impact on me and that it would bring my scores down. But that sort of thing can have a massive impact if you let it. And my response to that was, look at all the 10 out of 10s. Focus on them. Forget that. Focus on them. If there was any really constructive feedback contained in that, didn't put any comments about the score that we'd got. I said, if there was anything constructive about that, then I would take it seriously. But actually, I can see what's happened there. Somebody's just doing the feedback because they've been prompted. They didn't even stay here. So why would I let that have an impact on big picture? So that's kind of the first. If you're a perfectionist and you do, and I am a bit, yeah, most of us are that are creative, yeah, you feel like an imposter because your perfectionist traits make you believe that you're not as good as others might think you are. This is the thing. I think I'm a 10 out of 10. Others see me as that because that's how I do anything, is how I do everything. So when something happens that isn't perfect, imposter syndrome can show up, but you can see there how I've dealt with that by going, focus on all the 10 out of 10s, forget that one. When you're an expert, and a lot of you are, when you're an expert in your area, an expert can feel like an imposter because they don't know everything there is to know about their particular topic or subject. And if they're an expert and somebody happens to come up with something or ask them a question they don't know the answer, the overwhelming flood of imposter syndrome can have a physical reaction. They feel like there's more for them to learn. They don't feel like they've reached the rank of expert, yet they're positioned as an expert in their field. So it's being aware of these things and who you are. Are you the perfectionist? Are you the expert? What is it that triggers you to bring on the feelings of imposter syndrome? Maybe you are the natural genius. Yeah. Imposter syndrome here, you may feel like a fraud simply because you don't believe that you are naturally intelligent or competent, yet you might be naturally brilliant at art. And everybody looks at it and they go, oh, wow, this is fantastic. But you feel like your intelligence or competence doesn't come up to the standard of the thing that you create. That's where imposter syndrome can show up. And actually, who said you have to have everything in the basket? Who said that you need to be intelligent, competent, and great at art? You don't need to be. And you probably are way more intelligent than some of the people commenting on it and way more competent. But it's what we do is we look for the things that are wrong instead of focusing on the things that are right. And that's when imposter syndrome shows up for us. Maybe, though, that you are the soloist. Yeah. The soloist or the solopreneur feels like they can do everything and they don't need to ask for help. They should be able to get there on their own. And if they have to ask for help for anything or they can't figure something out, they end up feeling like an imposter. Okay, I'm not good enough. I should be able to figure this out on my own. Well, none of us know everything, and you don't know what you don't know. So the solopreneur, the soloist can be, it's like a self-depreciating thing. You're beating yourself up for something that you can't, that's out of your hands. Because how can you do everything on your own? You're 19% more likely to achieve what you want if you include others, if you build your network, if you build a team, even if that's a team of 2 or 3. So which one are you? Are you recognizing yourself yet? If you are, put it in the comments. And the final one I want to talk about is because I come across this person a lot, and it's Superwoman or Superman, the super person. This personality believes that you must be the hardest worker or reach the highest level of achievements possible. And if you don't, you're a fraud. You should be able to get the best feedback. You can't take feedback because anything less than a 10 out of 10 makes you feel like you're an imposter because you're Superwoman or Superman. You have no flaws. And that's a belief based in confidence issues and limiting beliefs that, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I'm going to be the best at this. And when you fall short, it can be devastating. So with imposter syndrome, it's really important to know who you are. Which one of those things resonates with you? Which one do you recognize in your behavior? So I'll just go over them again. Are you the perfectionist? Are you the expert? Are you the natural creative genius or natural genius if you're not creative? Are you the soloist, the solopreneur? Or are you Superwoman or Superman? Which one resonates with you? I'm always a mix of perfectionist and expert. Yeah, they two go together quite a lot. And it can be so devastating when you're not perfect or you don't feel like the expert. And some of the behaviors that happen with that is if you're in a room of people, if you're the expert or the perfectionist, you may not stick your hand up and ask a question or say something in case for fear of reprisal, for fear of looking stupid, for fear of feeling like an imposter in that room of people. It may hold you back in lots of different ways. Instead of sticking your hand up and saying this and accepting that if you get it wrong, or if it's, if people don't respond to it, that you're going to learn something. So having imposter syndrome happens to everybody. Everybody's got one or more of those traits in them. Not everybody. Some people are super confident. Like I said, some of the top names in coaching have said they don't believe imposter syndrome exists. Narcissists. I'm not saying that they are narcissists, but to diminish how other people are feeling in any situation or in any way is wrong, because this is a genuine feeling that happens to so many people at so many different levels. So I want you to remember that you are perfectly normal to be feeling like this. So here's some tips on how you can deal with that when it shows up. Is identify which one you think you are. That's step one. Identify how imposter syndrome shows up for you. What are the likely situations where imposter syndrome is going to show up for you? Is it in one of those sort of areas that I've described for you? When it does show up, the best thing you can do is stop and acknowledge it. Say, right, okay, I'm feeling like this now. Why am I feeling? What is it that's triggered this in me? Write it down. Write it down. You don't even have to explore it any further, but write it down. Write the time down, write the situation down, write what you think has triggered it down. Write it on a bit of paper and put it to the side. Do not try and analyze it while imposter syndrome is sitting on your shoulder, because that's too much for you to deal with in that moment. You're going to come back to that later when everything around you is a little bit more settled, and you're going to look at that and go, right, okay, let's look at this situation now. What was the trigger? How often am I in that situation? What's behind me feeling like that? It's a better way to analyze it if you can acknowledge it, write it down when it happens, and come back to it later. That's a good practice, believe me. That's one of the techniques I used regularly when I was a senior leader, because I was the only woman, 52 men in the company that were divisional executives and little old me, right? So I was well and truly outnumbered, and imposter syndrome showed up for me a lot at that time. And that was one of the methods that I used to move myself through imposter syndrome. And I was that person that held back in meetings and didn't stick my hand up, because I was in meetings with 20 men at a time, all with really sort of big ideas. And here was me, best performance in the group, but they would dismiss me quite often, even though I knew I was the expert. So I know what that feels like. That one definitely worked for me. Journaling works. I know journaling works for so many things. Journaling is such a good technique to use for your self-confidence, for limiting beliefs, for imposter syndrome. The act of getting it out of your head, through your hand, with a pen onto paper, and being able to look at that with a helicopter view instead of internalizing it and feeling it, is a huge thing to be able to move you through and past. So don't ever dismiss journaling. You don't need a fancy journal. You can have a bit of paper, a lined pad. It doesn't matter. You don't need a fancy journal. Journaling is about writing your feelings down. So journaling is a great technique to use to actually move you through imposter syndrome. And the final tip I'm going to give you, and this is the biggest one, and this is the thing we don't do. So I'm going to ask you to do something you don't do, is to talk about it. To actually say out loud to a friend or a trusted colleague that you are experiencing imposter syndrome. Have a conversation about imposter syndrome. Have a conversation about how it feels, because it is an internal thing. It's an inside job. Remember what I said to you about imposter syndrome being not believing on the inside what's happening on the outside. It's an inside job. So if you try, you can't fix the environment around you. It's out of your control. You can't fix what other people are going to say and do, or what you see on social media. All you can fix is what's inside. So talking about how that feels and listening, because when you talk with a trusted friend or colleague, what you're going to do, it's like a mirror. They're going to be able to mirror back what you're saying. And they're going to say things like, I didn't know you felt like that. Actually, I always think you're amazing. I look at you and I feel inspired by you. I look at you and I look up to you. So they're going to reinforce the positives for you so that you can chip away at that imposter syndrome and move it to the side. When Gordon shows up, just flick him off your shoulder, call yours whatever you like, and say, thanks. I know you're here, but here's the evidence to the contrary. I am actually this person. I am actually the expert, and I do know my stuff, but I can't know everything. I'm learning every day. So that's my stance today on imposter syndrome. I hope that's helped you to think about how it affects you. I hope that's helped you with some of the tips that I've shared with you today, and I hope that's made you feel a little bit better about yourself, because that's actually why I show up on a regular. So I am going to say at the end of this, comments, if you've got any comments on this, please put them in there. Let me come and respond to you. And remember that I still have a handful of places left on my inner circle. If you don't know what the inner circle is, for my next big 5-day challenge, which we kick off on Sunday, the 16th of April at 7 p.m. And that's my free 5-day challenge, teaching you how to make more money as a creative business owner. That kicks off on the 16th of April. I am offering 10 people a seat at the table, an inner circle of people to watch the launch before, during, and after. I'm going to teach you behind the scenes how to launch. You're going to be a fly on the wall and watch what we do. Watch how we do it, implement it, how it goes, how we review it. That's available at a price that's affordable for the people that are in my network, not the thousands that you pay with other coaches. So if you want to be on the inner circle, the link is in the comments up to the side, wherever they happen to be on your particular platform. As I've said, 5-day challenge starts 16th of April. The link for that in the top. If you've never done my 5-day challenge, do it. If you have done it before, do it again. It's going to build your confidence. It's going to help you with your imposter syndrome and any of the other issues you have. And then finally, I have teamed up with 2 other amazing, successful creative business owners, Lucy Sheffield, Danny Louise Smith, and the 3 of us have brought the power of 3 to creativity. You're going to see loads of copy about this over the next 3 weeks. The power of 3, how 3 people coming together to deliver for you a creative summit like no other. We have a 1-day creative summit straight after my 5-day challenge. So that's the 25th of April, link above or to the side. And in that creative summit, there will be 4 masterclasses. A masterclass from Lucy on how to become really visible as an artist. A masterclass from Danny, how to deal with overwhelm in your small service or craft-based business. A masterclass from me on how to set goals that actually work. And then a masterclass from all 3 of us together on business strategy. That's going to be a day not to miss. My 5-day challenge is not to miss. The summit is not to miss. And if you want to be a fly on the wall, hey, all opportunities are open this April. So thank you for listening to me this morning. I am off now to go and do a call with my wonderful, lovely clients. I will see you all next Tuesday evening as normal with another topic to help you in your business. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope the sun shines for Easter for you. Bye for now.